Well, hello everybody, welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make lemon meringue pie. So a pastry base with a lemon curd stroke custard filling and then meringue on top. It's actually quite simple to make, but it does take a little bit of time. But the good thing about it is that you can do it in stages, so you can bake the pastry case whenever you want. You can make the custard and put it in the case and let it chill, and you can actually even keep that in the fridge overnight if you want to, until you're ready to make the meringues and bake the whole pie. So I'll just say that I'm going to use a 9.5 inch, which is 22 centimetre tart tin, which has a loose bottom like that. That's the easiest. You could use a pie dish, it would still work, but this is easier for taking it out. And I will grease that ready for the pastry later. So we'll go on to the ingredients, and I'll deal with the filling first. And for that I have 200 millilitres, which is half a cup plus a third of a cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice. For me that was actually just about 5 lemons, but it varies depending on the size of the lemon. And then I have the zest from 3 of those lemons, and that's finely grated. I have 45 millilitres, 3 tablespoons of water. I have 25 grams, which is just under 2 tablespoons of butter. I have 175 grams, which is 7/8 of a cup, so 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of caster sugar. You could use granulated sugar. I'm going to use 3 medium egg yolks, which would be large in the USA. I have a 4th egg yolk here because that's going to go into the pastry. And then for the meringues, I have 4 egg whites, and then I have 2 teaspoons of corn flour and 225 grams, which is 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of caster sugar. So that then leaves me with the ingredients for the pastry. And here I have 225 grams, which is 1.5 cups based on 150 grams per cup of plain flour. I have 25 grams of caster sugar. Then I have half a teaspoon of salt, and I have 120 grams of cold butter, which is 8.5 tablespoons, and I have 30 millilitres, which is 2 tablespoons of cold water. This corn flour actually is for the filling, I forgot that, and the corn flour I have there is 25 grams, which is 3 tablespoons, so I put that over to one side. So for the pastry I have salt, sugar, flour, cold water, cold butter, and the yolk of 1 medium egg. So what I'm going to do is to put the flour and the sugar and the salt into my the bowl, the mini processor bowl of my immersion blender. You can do this by hand and rub the butter in, but I'm going to do it with my immersion blender. It just makes it that little bit quicker. I'm just going to give that a quick blitz. That's to get the salt and the sugar combined. Then I'm going to put the butter in, and I'm going to pulse that until I have a sort of breadcrumb like texture. And that's quite a nice texture now. I'm just going to put a knife in to check that there's no, or a fork will do, check that there's nothing clumping at the bottom. That's fine. So then I'm going to put in my egg yolk, which I have to take out of this dish. And I'm going to process that, adding the water at the same time until it all starts to clump together into a dough. And that's that done. So I need to take that out of the bowl and form it into a disc, and then I'm going to chill it in the fridge for 30 minutes. So I'm just going to squeeze that into a dough like that. It comes together very easily, as you can see. And with that formed into a disc, I'm going to put that into some plastic wrap. And I'm going to chill it for 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes and the dough has been chilling in the fridge. So I've taken it out and I've put it onto a floured work surface, and I'm going to roll it out so that it fits into my pie tin, or my tart tin, and it's going to be rolled out to a thickness of about 5 millimeters, which is perhaps almost 1/4 of an inch, I think. And this is one of those doughs that if it cracks or breaks as you put it in the tin, it doesn't matter because you can easily patch it. It's nice and soft. I think that's good enough, so I'm going to try to roll that up onto my rolling pin. And as I say, if it breaks, it really doesn't matter because you can patch it. And I'm going to drop that into the tart tin. I'm going to push it down. Like that. Then I'm going to cut off just the excess, but I'm going to leave some overlapping because that's how I like it, and the pastry, if it shrinks a little bit, that will be fine then. Just like that. And I'm going to put that back into the fridge to chill again, but I'm actually going to just dock it all over with a fork first. Like that. And that's going to go into the fridge to chill for another 30 minutes while I preheat the oven to 170 Celsius, 150 Celsius with a fan, 340 Fahrenheit. And then when I come back, we will put some parchment paper in, fill the parchment paper with baking beans, and we'll blind bake our pastry. The pastry has now chilled for 30 minutes and my oven is preheated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place some parchment paper into the pastry like that, and I'm going to fill that with baking beans, ceramic baking beans. You could use rice or anything you want, but this is to blind bake the pastry. Just like that, and then I'm going to put that into the oven and I'm going to bake it for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes I'm going to take it out, remove the parchment paper and the baking beans and put it back in the oven and bake it for a further 8 minutes, something like that, until I can see that the base is fully cooked through. At that stage I'll take it out and let it cool down, and as it's cooling down I'll come back and we'll make the filling. So I've baked the pastry for a further 8 minutes and I've taken it out, and this is what it looks like. It's nicely baked. So I'll set that to one side, and what we need to do now is to make our filling, and for that I'm going to put my corn flour into the bowl with the lemon juice and the water, and I'm going to mix it round until it's all nice and smooth. We don't want any lumps. And this is a wire whisk, but my pan is hard anodised, so it won't scratch it. And with that liquid in there like that, I'm then going to add my lemon zest and mix that around. And after that I'm going to put in the sugar and the egg yolks, and again I'm going to mix those around until everything is combined. And with that all combined like that, I'm going to put that onto a gentle heat, and I'm going to start to heat it through, stirring the whole time. I'll show you that. And then I'm going to add the butter in as well and keep stirring until the whole thing comes to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, it should have thickened nicely into a custard-like texture. And that is what we need for our filling. So I just have this on a gentle heat, and I'm going to stir it the whole time because the corn flour will form lumps if it isn't stirred. And once this is warmed up a little bit, I'm going to put my butter in. My butter's quite soft, but if it was cold it would the heat will help to melt it, but mine will melt very quickly anyway. And then we just want to keep stirring until it starts to boil and has thickened up. So I'm going to add the butter. And keep stirring the whole time. And this is just beginning to boil now. That's good. So I'm going to turn that off. That has thickened nicely, as you can see. And so I'm actually going to let that cool down for just a minute or two, and then I'm going to put it into the pastry case. So I've just let this cool down for a couple of minutes. It's still hot, but I'm going to pour it into my pastry case while it's still liquid. And I'm then going to leave that to cool completely. And as it's cooling, we will make the meringue to go on the top, so that as soon as it's cooled completely, we can bake it. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a shake to level it off, like that. That's good. So I'll leave that to cool completely, and then I'll come back and we'll make meringue and we'll bake it. And at that time I will preheat my oven once again to 170 Celsius, 150 Celsius with a fan, 340 Fahrenheit, so that it's ready to take this with the meringue on top and bake it again. So the filling is almost cool now, so I have my oven preheating again at 170, 150, 340, and we're going to go on to make the meringues. And for that I'm going to put my egg whites into the bowl of my stand mixer. You can do this by hand, but it will take quite a while. And I'm going to whisk this until we have soft peaks, and once we've got soft peaks I'm going to start adding the sugar a little bit at a time and continue whisking until we have stiff peaks, and then I'm going to add the corn flour in, which is going to help stabilize everything. And there we have soft peaks quite quickly, so I'm going to continue whisking, adding the sugar in. And that's almost a stiff peak. I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a whisk, and at the same time I'm going to add in my corn flour. So that's whisked it to nice stiff peaks. That's going to be good enough. So what I'm going to do is to put that onto my lemon filling. And you could pipe this, but it's not necessary. I'm simply going to spoon it on and then spread it around. And I like to start at the outside and then work in. And then that's going to go into the oven to bake just for 15 minutes. And during that 15 minutes it should go a crisp golden brown on the top, and it should stay nice and soft and fluffy inside. So I'll take it out, let it cool down completely, and I'll come back and show you the results. The lemon meringue pie has just about cooled down. It's a very, very hot day here. It's in the 30s Celsius, so it's not as firm, I don't think, as it ought to be, but it still looks quite good. So this is what it looks like, and I've cut a slice out of it, and I will put the rest of it in the fridge so that it firms up that little bit better due to the heat. So I'll have a taste of this one that I've cut. That is very, very good. The meringue is crisp on the top and so soft and fluffy inside. The lemon sort of curd or custard is very, very flavourful. Well, lemon is anyway. And then that pastry is nice and short. So it is very good. It would have been better served, it's not cold at the moment, but served chilled, I think. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for this recipe, and I'll put a link below the video for it as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future, so until then, happy baking.